Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PUC Online Classroom. Today we are moving on to activity number 10, Indirect Requests. So before I talk about indirect requests, let me talk about direct requests a little bit, okay? So at the first session of this unit, we already learned requests, okay, which is direct request. So we use with models, if clauses, and gerunds. So you probably have remember all of this, all right, from less formal to more formal. And in this lesson, we're going to focus on indirect request, which is activity number 10. So you might ask me, what are the differences between direct and indirect? All right. So last time we learned about direct request, and this time we learn about indirect request. And the difference is, indirect requests are more polite than direct requests. Okay, of course, we can have many different ways to make requests directly. Okay, remember that we use, your runs, if clauses, and models in order to soften our requests. But we can use indirect requests, which are more polite, okay, or formal than direct requests. So let's understand further about this. Alright, so this is the handout that I prepared for you. So this is about indirect request. So let's take a look at the definition a little bit. We sometimes use the indirect request when we want someone to give a message to someone else. Indirect requests are considered polite because they soften the request. Yeah, as I mentioned, okay, that moment ago. There are two types of requests. So we have direct and indirect requests. So when you talk about indirect right here, if you take a look at the lesson that we are going to learn, so we have four. So we have statements, imperatives, yes or no questions, and WA questions. So we will learn all about these four today in this session. Okay. So let me bring you back to the handout. So let me begin with statement. What is statement, everybody? Statement is a sentence that contains, all right, subject, verb, and an object, sometimes without. So with subject and verb, that's it. You consider to be a sentence or a statement. Okay, and we have certain forms right here. So you can use can you, could you, would you, or maybe you can use please right here. So let's try this three first. Can you, could you, would you, tell. All right, so these are forms. Tell an object, that, and a statement. And what is a statement? Again, it's subject, verb, and object. If you don't want to use can, could, would, all right, with question mark right here, you can use please. All right, but you don't need to use you. You just say please tell an object. An object right here refers to a person that you want to talk to. Okay, and a statement, but we have full stop at the end. Okay, so let's take a look at this example statement. Rata, I'm going to be late for class. That is the direct request. But we don't want to say that because we want to soften, our request. But the request is a statement, is a sentence, right? Because we have subject, verb, and object. Okay, let's say can be a phrase. So in order to change this statement to indirect request, we can use these four forms. All right, you can say can, could, would you tell Rata. Okay, because tell object rota, and that is optional. You can leave it or you can use it. It is fine. And I'm going to be late for class. So you just copy the statement right here. Or maybe you can say please tell Rata that I'm going to be late for class. And the difference is, you see it right here. The first one we begin with can, could, would. That is the reason we have a question mark right here. But whenever we begin with please, so it's just a full stop. Okay, so it is a choice whether you want to use the first or the second. It doesn't matter right here. So this is about statement, and then we moving on to imperatives. We have the same forms. All right, can, could, would, please, but the difference is we can use tell or ask. All right, we can use both of them, and then we have an object, and we have to verb and not to verb an object. So to verb or not to verb right here means if the request or the imperative is in a positive, then we have to use to verb. If the imperative is a negative, then we have to use not to verb. Okay, and the same thing with please, the same thing right here. So let's take a look at the example. So we have Tida, lend me your pencil. So your here refer to Tida. Okay, so you want to talk to Tida, but maybe you don't want, but you ask somebody else to, talk to Tida. Okay, and the indirect request is can, could, would you tell or ask, as you can see the forms right here, Tida, which is an object, and then to lend me her pencil. Okay, so we have to change her, otherwise it is incorrect. You cannot use you or your right here because it's about Tida, is Tida's pencil. Then you have to say her pencil. You cannot say your pencil, otherwise this is incorrect. And as you can see right here, we say to verb, to lend. Okay, and you can say please tell us Tida to lend me her pencil. Maybe you can try another example. So let's go through this example together. So we have the same person, Tida. Okay, don't be late. Okay, don't be late for class. Okay, so we can say right here, can, or you can use could, or you can use would. Okay, tell or ask Tida. So in this case, everybody is a negative imperative, not a positive imperative like the first one. So if it is a negative imperative, then we have to use not to. So right here, we should say not to, and then verb. So we use be right here, not to be late for class. Okay. So as you can see right here, we have negative and we have positive. So you need to remember the forms. Okay, when it comes to imperative, and it can be negative or positive. If it is a negative, then you need to use not to verb. If it is a positive, you have to use to verb. Okay. All right, so let's go on to yes, no question. That is a third type of indirect request. So we still have the same forms, can, could, would, and please. But this time we can use only ask. Why? Because it's a question. You cannot say tell a question, but you should say ask a question. All right, and we have an object, the same thing. And when it is a yes, no question, we need to use if or whether or not. All right, so the reason we use if, whether or not here, right here, just because we don't know the answer. We don't know whether the answer is yes or no when somebody asks yes no question. All right, and I will explain you why. So you can use if or whether or not. It doesn't matter right here. You can use if, or you can use whether, or you can use whether or not. Or not right here is optional. You can use it or you can keep it, or maybe you can use it at the end right here. It is also fine. Okay, and after this we have subject and if. Okay, so we have three different ways. All right, right here. If the verb, or the question begins with modal verbs, then you have to use modal plus verb base. And if the question is about do, does, did, you have to omit them, and then you have to use verb 1 or verb 2 according to the tenses. All right, for example, if it is a present tense, it must be verb 1, do or does. And if the question is about that, then you have to omit, and then you have to change the verb to verb 2. All right, okay, so you have to be careful with this. And whenever the question is with to be, then you just keep to be. All right, and please, the same thing. So I use many dots right here, refers to if, and subject right here. And take a look at the example right here. So Ka, are you going to the party? And then you can say, because it is going to, and it's also verb to be right here. So you consider to be right here. Okay, but actually be going to consider to be modals. Of course, we still use to be right here. But anyway, it's fine. So let's take a look at the answer. Can you, could, would you ask Soka if or whether? You see that? Because when you ask a question, are you going to the party, Soka? It's just like we don't know whether the answer is yes or no yet. That is the reason we use if or whether right here. And in the example right here, I don't mention or not. Okay, so because or not is optional, then you can say he is going to the party. All right, so we have to change, and the subject. You cannot say you again. All right, you have to change to Sokha, or you can say he. I presume Sokha is male, so that is the reason I use he right here. And you can also use please ask Sokha if whether he's going to the party, but this time you use full stop. Okay, so this is about yes no question begins with be going to, or you can consider to be verb to be right here. And right now we can use modal. Can you help me? Then you can say can or could would you ask Sokha if or whether he can. Alright, so according to the form, subject, modals, and verb base, he can help me. Alright, as you can see right here. And another example about yes no question, we have did you go to the party? Okay, did you go to the party? So we use with did, auxiliary verb did. And according to the rule, we have to omit when you see do, does, or did. And because this is past simple, then when you omit did, of course you have to use verb to. Alright, so right here, can or could would you ask Sokha, I'm sorry, not Sokha, it's Sokha, if whether he went to the party. So did you see that I changed go to went according to the tense. So because this one is past simple, then you have to change the verb whenever we omit, did. All right. And let's go to the last one, which is about WA question. Can, could, would. All right, the same thing. And as an object, but the difference right here is WA word. All right, because that is a WA question begins with what, where, why, when. All right, how, things like this. Then after an object right here, we have to use WA word, and then we use subject plus the same thing. If the question with modals, then you have to keep modals and verb base. If the question with do, does, did, you have to omit them and change the verb to verb 1 or verb 2 according to the modals right here. Okay, and also the tense. And if it's to be, then you have to keep to be. All right, similar to please. So let's see these examples. So pair, what time are you leaving today? And consider to be right here, so that you have to keep to be. So can you tell me, sorry, could you ask, because it is question, I'm sorry, it is a question that you have to use ask, not tell. Can or could would you ask Sophia what time she's going to leave, so that we consider that Sophia is female, then you have to change to she. And right here the verb is are, and then when you change she, that should be is. Okay, or you can use please right here. And another example, what time do you go home? This is about do, and according to the rule we have to omit them. So you can see right here, can you tell, oh sorry, could you ask Sophia what time you have to omit do, and then you have only subject she because Sophia is female, and then we have to change the verb 1 goes because the subject is third person singular. All right. And the last example is about modal. What time will you pick me up? As you can see right here is about modal will. Then you can change that. All right, move that after the subject according to the forms right here. So would you ask Sophia what time she will pick me up? All right, she right here refers to Sophia. Okay, so I think there are a lot in this section, and if you have any question you can go one by one, anybody. Okay, so we have statement, imperative, yes no question, WA questions. All right, so let me wrap up a little bit. So statement is about subject, verb, and object. Okay, so we just ask someone to give a message to that person with a statement or with a sentence. All right, so we follow these forms, and the message, or the request can be imperative, and when you talk about imperative, it can be positive or negative imperative, so that you have to follow the forms right here. And we also have yes no question. Okay, whenever it is yes no question, you have to change to if or whether, because I'm sorry, not change, we have to use if or whether. The reason is that we don't know the answers. And you also have to remember the verbs, the different types of verbs right here when they use. So if it is modal, keep modals. If it is about do, does, or did, omit them, okay, and change the verb according to the tense. And if it is about to be, then you have to keep to be. And similar to number 4, W8 question, but you have to use W8 word right here because you cannot omit W8 word, otherwise we don't know exactly what the question is about. Okay, so still the same, the verbs, all right, with the 3 types: modals, do, does, did, you have to omit, and to be. Okay, all right, that's it for this unit, everybody. If you have any questions, please leave me your question in the comment below. All right, I will try my best to answer to your questions. And when you finish, watching this video, you can go to the exercise right here. So you have to change them or rewrite them in using indirect requests. All right, and then you can use can or could or would, doesn't matter, or you can use please. Okay, all right, that's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much.